In the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth in 6 days. He makes Adam and Eve, who spend their days with God until they give in to temptation by eating from a forbidden tree. Sin enters the world, and things get so bad that God floods the earth and starts over with Noah and his family. Years later, God calls Abraham to follow him with the promise to make Abraham the father of a great nation. Abraham obeys, and God gives him a son, Isaac. Isaac's son Jacob has 12 sons. Joseph, Jacob's favorite, becomes second in command of Egypt. God uses him to save his entire family and Egypt from starvation. Hundreds of years later, the Israelites are slaves in Egypt. Moses is called to lead the Israelites out of slavery. Joshua takes over after Moses and leads the people into the promised land. After Joshua, God raises up judges, temporary military leaders like Deborah, Gideon, and Samson, who protect and fight for God's people. The people tire of this leadership, and they call for a king. God gives Israel King Saul, King David, and then King Solomon. But it's all downhill from here. The people rebel. The kingdom of Israel is divided, and everyone turns their back on God. Prophets like Elijah, Isaiah, Micah, and Jeremiah warn that if people don't repent of their sins, there will be consequences. But the people ignore their warnings. The divided kingdoms are conquered, and God's people face captivity in foreign lands. People like Daniel show great courage and stand up for God when no one else does. Some of the exiled people return to the promised land, but for 400 years, God is silent. No prophets, no miracles, and no angel visitations. But then, the silence is broken when Jesus is born. He lives a perfect life, teaches truth, and performs miracles, proving He is God. He shows us the full extent of God's love by taking our place and dying on the cross for our sin. He is placed in a grave, but 3 days later, Jesus rises again, conquering sin and death. His followers travel the world, sharing the good news of His love and starting churches. We now are part of this story, and we have the chance to change the world and share His love, because one day He will crack open the sky and He will return. It's the greatest story ever told.
Keheningan Tuhan dalam hidup saudara bukan berarti Tuhan gak sedang bekerja. Karena saya catat seringkali mujizat terbesar yang Tuhan kerjakan dalam hidup kita justru di saat Dia paling diam. Di saat murid-murid melihat sudah tidak ada harapan, Tuhan sedang mengerjakan sesuatu yang dahsyat. Tuhan sedang mempersiapkan Pentakosta. Pada saat Maria dan Marta sudah berkabung dan mereka merasa Tuhan diam dan Tuhan tidak ada buat mereka. Dalam 4 hari itu Tuhan sedang mempersiapkan. Nanti aku bukan cuma bangkitkan Lazarus, tapi aku akan bangkitkan dia. Hari ini percayalah. Saudara mungkin hari ini mengalami keheningan dalam hidup saudara. Tapi sebentar lagi ada kebangkitan yang Tuhan sudah siapkan bagi saudara dan saya. Kasih tepuk.
Jangan pernah main-main dengan dosa. Dosa itu jerat. Dosa itu ikat, dosa itu pukat, gak akan melepaskanmu semudah itu. Makanya kalau kita mau datang ke Yesus harus lawan arus, lari. Baik itu lari secara harafiah, kalau perlu kita lari dari dosa seperti Yusuf, lari dari cengkeraman istri Potifar, jubahnya ketinggalan gak apa-apa. Atau lari terima Tuhan, tidak aku harus lawan arus teman. Peduli amat orang bilang apa, fanatik lu, saya ikut Yesus. Mau dibaptis, mau mengampuni, belajar untuk bersaksi, jangan pikir 2 kali. Mau dosa, pikir 7 kali 70 dan terakhir jangan lakukan setelah Anda pikirkan. Tapi kalau mau taat sama Tuhan, gak usah 2 kali dipikirkan. Dengan ulur pertobatanmu, apa garansinya kita masih punya hari esok? Kalau Tuhan datang sekarang ini, tiba-tiba langit terbuka, ada suara sangkakala, kita dipanggilnya. Pertanyaannya, apakah Anda sudah diselamatkan? Jangan kita merasa, waktu ada di tanganku. Sama sekali waktu gak ada di tangan manusia. Di tangan manusia itu hanya keputusannya. Waktu itu di tangan Allah.